Across southern Ontario and the North Channel Islands of Lake Huron, an ancient, hidden world of geology lies beneath our feet. Through the lens of a microscope, as recreated here in stereoscopic VR, we can uncover these ancient secrets. First, take a look at this glacial till. These grains and minerals are cleaved and eroded from far-flung bedrocks by physical and chemical erosion, while continental-scale ice lobes covered much of Ontario. For 100,000 years, ice hammered the bedrock of the continent, finally yielding over the last 10,000 years. You've probably walked on this unconsolidated material before. Notice how different each rock is. Next, have a look at this sample of Precambrian age crystalline rock, the oldest rocks found in Ontario dating back over 1 billion years. You may know this rock by its more common name, the Canadian Shield. This sample and all that follow have been collected by drilling deep underground to retrieve rock cores and cuttings. Notice how sharp the edges are where the rock breaks. Our first sedimentary rock is limestone. Limestone is a sedimentary rock that is formed from the creation of calcium carbonate minerals by marine animals and plants. This means the rock is born and not the result of eroding pre-existing metamorphic or igneous material. Under the microscope, we can see the individual crystals of calcite and maybe some fossil skeletal remains. Look closely inside the individual rock chips for crystalline particles. Here is a sample of Dolostone to examine. This type of rock is like limestone, but has magnesium added in the calcium carbonate mineral structure. Look for small crystal-like grains under the microscope. Distinguishing between limestone and dolostone can be essential in resource exploration, as we will soon find out. Shale is another type of sedimentary rock commonly found beneath our feet in southern Ontario. Shale forms from the accumulation of clay and silt-grade material due to the physical weathering of silicate rocks. Sharp breaks and a range of colors are characteristic traits of shales. Now we encounter a sample of sandstone, another sedimentary rock in southern Ontario. Sandstone is made of sand-grade materials of minerals such as quartz, feldspars, and mica that have been buried and cemented into rock by the persistence of pressure, temperature, and fluid precipitation. These are grains of relatively pure quartz. Study the pattern in samples where the grains remain held together. Finally, we will look at salt. Salt is a type of rock formed by ancient evaporated seas. In southern Ontario, there are 4 salt layers that produce much of the salt we use on our roads in the winter, in water softeners, and to season our foods. These distinct lithologies of southern Ontario occur in layers that are mappable regionally in the subsurface and at the land surface. Each sedimentary layer is an echo of ancient life that existed hundreds of millions of years ago in the Paleozoic era. Let's examine some lithologies for each period and find out where and when they are from. The Devonian is the youngest geologic period in southern Ontario, about 360 million years young. This cherty limestone is called the Amherstburg Formation, spotted in outcrops just north of the village of Formosa. Going back in time, we arrive in the Silurian period, represented here by rocks of the Guelph Formation, which outcrop in the Elora Gorge and Guelph-Cambridge areas. The older Ordovician period sedimentary rocks are deep in the subsurface around Chatham and outcrop near Picton in Prince Edward County. This late Ordovician age rock belongs to the Cobourg Formation. The oldest geologic period in the sedimentary sequence of southern Ontario is the Cambrian, 486 to 540 million years old. Cambrian-age sandstones and conglomerates outcrop in select quarries and road cuts of southeastern Ontario. Now you know the sedimentary rocks of southern Ontario are made of various lithologies that we can distinguish under the microscope, except for one problem. Limestones and dolostones are difficult to tell apart, but very important for explorers to distinguish. The transformation from limestone to dolostone may alter the rock's industrial uses and enhance its porosity and permeability, changing forever how fluid moves underground. Geologists can run special tests to distinguish the mineralization of the rock types, and the results can be powerful. The first test is an acid test. This limestone is made of biologically created calcite, and it will yield a wild reaction. Let's see. The rock is almost wholly consumed in the acid. And the same test on the Dolostone. The altered mineral barely reacts compared to the calcite. A stain called alizarin red can also be used. The stain is applied to a lightly wetted sample. Flakes of calcite will absorb the stain, but Dolostone will not. Clearly, this sample has many flakes of calcite. This sample is mostly Dolostone and does not take the staining. How can explorers apply this knowledge in a practical way? Here is a sample of cuttings collected in 1908 at St. Mary's. Explorers are hoping for rich calcite rock to quarry for cement. If we employ a test, what is the expected result? In this alizarin red test, rock chips take a dark staining, showing a good amount of calcite. A good location to quarry stone for cement. We've seen the various lithologies of Ontario's Paleozoic bedrock and how to identify them under a microscope. Explorers use rock chips like this to make important identifications on the mineralization of the subsurface. A catalog of over 1 million rock chip files can be browsed at the Oil, Gas and Salt Resources Library in London, Ontario.